that some kind of a rejiggering of the financial system might be attempted. I think Cliff High has alluded to this as well. I would put it along the lines of the NESRA bill. I'm not sure if people are aware of that. You can find it at nesra.org, and that's the National Economic Stability and Recovery Act. And what that tries to do is take all the debt that's out there, remove all the interest paid on that debt, such that your new balance on that debt is shrunk, or if you paid more interest than the debt was worth, then you own the asset or whatever you have on that debt just free and clear. I don't see that working, and the reason I don't see it working, although it's there are a lot of people working towards that angle, but the reason I don't see it working is that it won't solve the derivative problem. The derivative problem in the quintillions is the shadow banking world. It won't solve the inequality problem. The inequality of the 0.01% own almost all the wealth on a paper basis of the world. It won't solve a lot of problems that the Road to Ruta initially tried to solve. The Road to Ruta theory was the manipulation of gold and silver to prolong the unbacked fiat monetary system. And the idea was to build your infrastructure, run the unbacked system as long as possible, soaking up the benefits, and then crash the system. Because as you run the unbacked fiat money system, there have been massive amounts of corruption and money stolen, and so much more beyond you can even believe behind the scenes. The only way to get rid of all that is to get rid of everything. So to get rid of everything, it's not someone who's going to sign a law that says, okay, all fiat money is worthless. It's going to be an organic collapse, probably brought on by the derivative weapon of mass financial destruction, as Warren Buffett loves to call it. And you hopefully everybody's seen that Warren Buffett is now knee deep in that, and I think he himself can fall on the sword and destroy the entire global paper money system. So ultimately, I don't think anything will survive, but I think in the meantime, the powers that be and the U.S. Congress might try to save what's left of our unbacked system, but ultimately I don't think it'll work.
Well, I can understand that point of view. The next question is also from Obi-Wan 1. How do you feel about holding physical metals in a public vault somewhere, or using James Turk's goldmoney.com as a vehicle for holding physical metals?
I get this asked of me a lot, and because James Turk is such a upstanding citizen and a good person, people feel very safe with him. And out of all the ETFs, him and Eric Sprott, I would say those are the two that, if you had to do it, you should hold your metal with. The problem I see is that in my scenario, where the collapse is total and complete, you've got metal not in your hands and not in your possession. It is a prime spot for confiscation and nationalization, depending on where the warehouse is. James Turk and Eric Sprott won't be able to take care of that money or take care of the gold and silver if their employees aren't getting paid, and the transition, they won't have control of it. It will be chaotic, and to have someone else hold your metal in a identifiable large chunk of metal in one spot, it is just a prime target for the nation that it will be on their knees. Every nation will be on their knees, and there'll be so many angry people, angry at the rich. And, that money could represent their rebirth of their nation and using gold and silver as currency. So, if I just, even though those guys are great and upstanding citizens, I don't think they're going to have any control of it either.
Well, I can see that point of view. So it sounds like the moral of the story would be gold, silver, brass and lead.
Yeah, and food and water and a list of supplies.
Right. Well, thank you, Bix.
Sure.
Okay, Bix, we're going to turn back to Alan now for another question. Alan?
Yes. Hi again, Bix. Do you see the Hong Kong Metal Exchange, the Shanghai Exchange, and the Pan-Asian Gold Exchange taking over for the CME and the LME as the world's paramount bullion exchanges, especially in light of the recent MF Global CME JPM heist?
I wish that some exchange will be created that is a physical only exchange, meaning no paper contracts, a buy and sell type. You have one buyer and one seller where you can't high frequency trade all day and manipulate the markets. I don't see any exchange that's set up yet, even these new ones, that have just the functionality of determining the fair market value of gold and silver between a willing buyer and a willing seller. I think every other market is set up for traders and hedging and all the derivatives of gold and silver. So I'm looking for a real gold and silver exchange where the price is determined of the real metal and there are no paper derivatives.
Oh, if we could live in such a world. Thank you very much.
I think we will. There will be so much anger when this all implodes, and most of that will be pointed at the derivative complex, the paper contract. So is it a wonderful world? Yeah, but it'll be really different.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, kind of sticking on the Asian theme here for a second, Bix. Do those Asian exchanges, in light of a few of them, are affiliated with the same players, the Rothschilds, et cetera, that manipulate the prices in New York and London, the JPM Red Shield Brigade? Is it really something that can be trusted by Asians as well as other players around the globe?
No, I don't. Well, can be trusted. I think it's good that all these extra exchanges are coming up because there is some kind of physical component to them. But I haven't seen one that is a true physical exchange where there's buyers and sellers of metal taking delivery and not, it's not 10 billion contracts trading back and forth between two computers. So it hasn't happened yet. These new exchanges are, unless it is solely a physical exchange where the only thing to do there is go and buy metal and sell metal and take delivery and it's not just, trading back and forth. We're not going to, I don't trust them.
Okay, hopefully that there will be something that helps to restructure it. I mean, getting to a world where you've got your local neighborhood or regional metals exchange with the dealers all calling each other up and down the West Coast or through the Corn Belt, up and down the East Coast, moving out over into other areas without larger exchanges. How does a global pricing mechanism get set in this future world that you foresee, Bix?
Well, it's not. See, when we talk about a pricing mechanism, we're talking about pricing a commodity in terms of an unbacked fiat money. The problem is the unbacked fiat money. The problem is not the commodity. So, in the future world that I see, gold and silver will be used as money, at least in the United States for sure, and plans are in place to do that. But it is a different mindset. What will be the value of an ounce of gold when an ounce of gold is a monetary unit of the United States? It would be the declared value. Would it be $20? $20 in U.S. gold? The mindset needs to be changed to think outside of the unbacked fiat money system and go back to, if you erase all money from the face of the earth, all unbacked fiat money with a derivative crash, then any new money introduced will be very valuable on a dollar for dollar basis. So it's complicated when you think of using gold and silver as money, because at that point in time, everything else will be based off the currency in use. So you won't think of a house costs $500,000. You'll think of a house costs 80 ounces of silver, or 40 ounces of gold, or whatever that valuation is. It really is a different mindset.
Yes and no. It still goes back to a value associated with it, however that happens to be determined or set. And I wasn't thinking so much in terms of a dime is now the equivalent of $1 or is the equivalent of $5 in fiat today, but more so in terms of international trade. If the United States is buying barrels of oil or bales of wheat or bales of wool or bushels of wheat that we're importing or exporting, how do those types of things settle out when you've got different exchanges locally established and being run that set prices based upon local scarcity or surplus? And how does that balance out on an international trade basis?
Well, in my road to Ruta theory, all globalization ends with the crash of the unbacked fiat system. It ends for a while, because no one will trade with us when we crash the dollar. So I think as trade starts up again, say a couple years down the line, 10 years down the line, who knows how long it will take to open up free trade again. But when that happens, it will start most likely on a barter type system. You've got, oil is a good example. You got one country who has extra oil, wants to get rid of a couple shiploads, and you've got the United States who made, 10 million belt buckles or whatever we're going to trade. Most likely, it won't be, although the banksters would want a global gold and silver monetary system, it'll be up to each country to decide what they want to use for their money. And it'll also be up to each country on, what they want to trade, who they want to trade with, and how those trades will be denominated. When this crashes, we really will go back to a free market type of system that isn't controlled in the computer networks of the bankers.
Okay, great. Thanks. Really appreciate your clarification on that. It's something that's always been kind of a head scratcher for me. I'm going to ask Alan to pick up things here and give you the next question.
Yes, hello again, Bix. Eric King on his website has named the names of certain individuals he considers to be silver manipulators. When, if ever, do you expect any of these individuals to be arrested?
Well, let me. I don't know who Eric had named. I can name a couple myself. Blythe Masters of J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon, Bill Daley. All those J.P. Morgan types. But they're HSBC, and you can go down the list. And that hot potato of the silver short is what they're trying to protect. So. There are a lot of banks involved in the banking cabal. Arrests, I think they'll happen when we have the crash, and the crash will start off very similar to 2008. You might recall in 2008 when Hank Paulson went to Congress with a gun and said, "Give us $700 billion." They needed that, or the ultimate would have happened, which would have been the end of all paper and electronic monetary assets. That's where we're going to end up. And there's going to be people to blame. And those people, such as Jamie Dimon and there are more of the riggers are behind the scenes rather than in front of the scenes. There's guys within Congress, there's guys in the military. I mean, the bad guys, as I call them, are kind of spread out, and they are scared to death right now that the world is waking up, and we are. I mean, we've come a long way. This is